It is estimated that 120 people die every minute. These are some of the most unusual ways people have lost their lives. On August the 9th, 2004 in Marietta, Georgia, Francis Brohm, 23, was getting a lift home from his intoxicated friend, 21-year-old John Hutchison, after a night out at the pub. During the drive, Francis, who was in the passenger seat, stuck his head out of the window to be sick when John's truck swerved off the road. The right side of his car hit a telephone pole support wire. The wire sheared off the truck's exterior right side mirror and cut off Francis's head. John, not realising what had happened, continued driving with Francis's headless body hanging out of the car window for several miles to his house, where he parked in the driveway and went straight to bed. The body was discovered the next day by a man and his young daughter that walked past the truck and saw Francis's headless body hanging out of the passenger side window. Officers searched John's house and found him sleeping in blood-stained clothes. Francis' severed head was later recovered near the accident site. John and Francis had been best friends since high school. The family requested leniency to be given for John during sentencing. He was charged with driving under the influence, failure to stop, and first-degree vehicle homicide. John ended up serving 3 years in prison. Kenneth Pinyan, a 45-year-old previously married man with children, and another man filmed and distributed zoophilic pornography of Kenneth receiving anal sex from a stallion, a male horse. After engaging in this activity on multiple occasions, Kenneth received fatal internal injuries including a perforated colon, a puncture, cut, or tear in the wall of the colon. He was rushed to hospital but died shortly after arriving. The death was ruled as an accident. On December 5, 2009, a 25-year-old Ukrainian chemistry student, Vladimir Likhonos, who was at home for the holidays, was sat in his room chewing bubblegum when there was a sudden loud popping noise. Vladimir's parents heard the loud noise and went in to check on him. Vladimir's jaw had been blown off and most of his lower face was missing. Vladimir was dead within minutes. He often dipped his chewing gum into citric acid to give it a more sour taste, but it's believed he accidentally dipped his bubblegum into an unknown explosive powder that he was working with for his studies. This powder looked identical to citric acid. It's suspected that the friction caused by chewing set off the explosive powder, blowing up the lower parts of Vladimir's face. Many people may know what cockfighting is, but if you don't, cockfighting is where specially bred birds are placed in an enclosed pit to fight for the primary purpose of gambling and entertainment. In organised cockfights, razor-sharp knives are often attached to the limbs of the fighting birds. In January 2011, a 35-year-old man called Jose Ochoa of Lamont, California, was a spectator at an illegal cockfight when he was stabbed in the calf by a rooster with a knife attached to his leg. He was taken to a hospital, but doctors were unable to stop the bleeding. He later died at hospital. In November 2018, Elena Gardner, aged 60, was carrying a mason jar style drinking glass with a screw top lid when she collapsed at her home in Dorset, UK. The former jockey was prone to collapsing due to pain caused by spinal injuries since a riding accident when she was 21. When she fell, the 10-inch stainless steel straw from the mason jar went through her left eye socket and fatally pierced her brain. Her wife, Mandy, in a statement said, "I did not hear her fall. I went to the kitchen door and could see Eleanor lying on her front at the doorway between the den and the kitchen. She was making unusual gurgling sounds. Her glass cup was lying on the floor, still intact, and the straw was still in the jar. I noticed the straw was sticking into her head. I called 999 and requested an ambulance. She was rushed to hospital, but doctors said her injury was so severe she would likely not survive. She was eventually taken off life support."